There we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about CotSafe and Stryker review. For everyone at Harvard, I don't know if you've heard about CotSafe is something that was done by Pro EMS. Region 4 requires it annually as just a review. If you go on Prodigy, it's like a 10-minute video. We were able to get an hour and a half of OEMS credit for this tonight. So that'll be the first part. The second part, we're just going to review the Stryker systems, the power stretcher, the power loading feature for the ambulances, and just the stair chair. So it's going to be quick, brief, and easy. I know everyone in Harvard, to get credit for this, I believe, you're going to need to just do a practical with Lieutenant Harry.
We got that scheduled, Eric. I'm here now.
Hey, there you are. It's about time.
I'm on my. Hey, we just got back from Emerson. We were saving a life, making a difference.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So what is CotSafe? CotSafe was put together by several municipal and private ambulance services to improve the patient safety and establish best practices for ambulance cot operation and transport. From what I understand, this is something that Pro had a large hand in, and it's an acronym used just to kind of help refresh everyone as to how to operate a stretcher safely. Why we need to operate stretchers safely, we'll watch a funny little video. I don't know how loud the volume is going to be, so bear with me on that. So as we know, there are some places where the whole stretcher and safety is kind of looked out the window. Just by looking at some of them, the stretchers don't even have straps, let alone anything else. So why CotSafe? If anyone has any more recent studies, feel free to let me know. Trying to find anything on the internet has proven to be difficult for me. But 2012, I found a study, 129,000 transports. There were 23 reported stretcher incidents. I'm sure there were a lot more, however, just not reported. There are also 4 provider injuries and 0 reported patient injuries. So the CotSafe training is, we're going to try and improve the ambulance stretcher safety, improve safety for all patients and providers. So getting into it, the C for cot, we're talking about the cot hook. So the older stretchers, the stretchers that don't use the power loading systems or even the new safety loading systems, we had that hook in the middle that always got caught. Talking about the safety of the cot hook, we want to make sure that both providers ensure that it's engaged as best you can before moving the cot from the ambulance. Obviously, if we don't have it hooked, stretcher is going to keep going, as we saw in that one video when we dropped the patient. So make sure the hook's in place and make sure the bar is down properly. Most of the time, the bar should be set down properly, unless there's a malfunction of the bar, or if it's one of those things, for some reason you had the stretcher raised up in the back of the truck and then lower it down, the bar is just not going to sit properly. However, most of the cases, the bar should be sitting properly. So anytime we pull a stretcher out, or before we go to load the stretcher, and make sure the bar is hooked on the hook. I know pulling it out, I've seen some people, they keep their hands by the bar because we're going to have to release it. I personally don't. I prefer to keep my hand far away. That way, if far away from the bar, not the stretcher, That way there's no question on if I lifted the bar too early. We can ensure the wheels are down before lifting the bar. So checking to make sure that the bar is hooked goes for taking the stretcher out, putting the stretcher in. I'm guessing you guys have the collapsible backs where you can make it where the cot shortens up and you can raise it up, fits nicely in a small elevator. If the stretcher is not extended fully, if that back is still collapsed at any point, it's going to make it hard to lock in once you get into the truck. So always kind of give it a tug just to make sure that you're fully extended before loading. And then, like I said, try and keep your hands away from the release bar until the wheels are on the ground. That will just prevent any unnecessary distraction and unnecessary failure of the system there. The O, over shoulder straps. As we do everything, we use all the straps we have available to us. Anytime we have a patient on the stretcher, we use 5 straps, 2 over the shoulder, 1 over the chest, 1 over the waist or knee, 1 over the waist, knees, and feet kind of area, depending on how your patient lays on the cot. So every time we move, it should be secured with all 5. I know sometimes you'll see in the cold or when we have that patient where ALS is waiting in the truck, the straps are coming off anyway because they're gonna have to throw them on the 12 lead, or we're just trying to get them in the truck. So, and then re-expose them once they're in a warmer environment. Obviously not the safest thing to do. So we want to use all 5. This again goes with the stair chair as well. If you have the stair chair with the 3 straps, the cross, and then at the ankles, you should always use all 3. More or less, if something were to happen, there's going to be a question of why not all the straps you had available were being used. You might as well just take that over question. During assessment, again, we're back in the back of the truck. We may need to remove straps, either for a 12 lead, where we're doing a rapid trauma kind of thing. Remove the straps, always try and resecure them as quickly as possible. So once the leads are on, we try and resecure the straps. Most ALS providers are pretty well at doing that. I know some have waited until you get to the hospital, and it's one of those, hey, let's secure this really quick before everyone else sees. That's something, once the medics are doing their thing, if you're the basic in the back with them, you can start working on that. You'd really, just let them know, maybe ask for a hand, make sure they don't need to do anything else. But there really shouldn't be an issue with resecuring straps. That way there, if there were to be an ambulance crash, again, our patient is secured. The patient safety with all the securing devices and the ambulance rolls and all that stuff is all rated. It's determined with the patient fully strapped as they're supposed to be appropriate. So you might as well give them the best possible outcome if something were to happen. Oh man. T, as all the firefighters like to do, talk. Typically not about anything good, but we do talk a lot. So we need to be in communication. Whether you like your partner or not, we need to communicate what's going on. And this is all simple things, just like using a ladder, right? Prepare to raise, prepare to lower. The wheels are locked, the wheels are unlocked. Stretchers being lowered, stretchers being raised. We're gonna turn to the left, turn to the right. And then as well as any hazards, right? So that everyone that's assisting has an understanding of what's going on. We're all on the same page and there's no question. Anytime we move the stretcher, vertical and horizontally, so again, up and down, bumps, uneven surfaces, slippery. We had a call the other day where we had to move a patient up a hill and then there was a little ravine and it was a complete pain. But the person that's at the head, or even better, a person that is helping guide, should be able to call this stuff out. Same thing as we're going up and down stairs. The left and right thing, make sure everyone has an understanding what's going on. If you say turn to my left or turn to my right, we just don't want to be trying to do the wrong thing and kind of screw everything up. Our stripes. I don't know if Stryker actually did this on purpose or not, but on the stretchers, when CotSafe first came out, we were all told we had to put stripes on the stretcher. On the lower control arms, we had to put stripes. This way here, we knew when the stretcher was level. This is our recommended moving height. As you can see right now, the stretcher on the right is at its fully extended height. If you make a laser pointer. Ooh, no, we're not doing that. I don't know if you can see my mouse. On the left side here, we have the red stripes. They don't really line up too well. On the right side, there are two black things, whatever you want to call them, kind of arms, one on the lower leg, one on the extended leg. So at the fully extended height, nothing really lines up. You can't see the level, but the patient, if they're sitting on the stretcher, wouldn't be sitting level. Moving the stretcher at this height here is really unnecessary. It doesn't help the providers in any means. It doesn't move the arm. It doesn't move the stretcher or the arms into any better position. B, it makes it a lot more top heavy, right? Because now we're taking a lot more weight and bringing them high. So we never want to move the patient in this uppermost fully extended level. Best thing to do anytime we move the stretcher, we want to be down at this level surface. So you can see a little better. The stripes are more lined up, and even more so, those two black pieces of plastic on the right went from being far off and offset to being the same height. If you looked at the level, the stretcher is perfectly level. This way here, it's down. It keeps your center of gravity lower. It still keeps up high so the providers aren't bending over, but just less of a tipping hazard. A for attention, not the attention that Lieutenant Perry likes, or the attention we give him, but we want to make sure we're paying attention to what's going on. So our cot operations require the undivided attention of at least 2 providers. Looking around for statistics, I found a lawsuit out of Michigan, which was an interesting read. They were moving a paraplegic from assisted living to go to the hospital. Several things happened in this, which resulted to the lawsuit, but one of the paramedic stayed inside to talk to the staff about something. The basic was moving the stretcher by himself. The patient saw that basic only had one hand on the stretcher, the other hand on the bag. And as he was moving the stretcher, one wheel came off the ramp, went onto the grass, tilted the stretcher. They fixed it, went all upright, ended up suing. The patient ended up dying later on from injuries. There was a lot of undocumentation. But anytime we move the stretcher with a patient, we need to have at least 2 providers. Even without the patient, if you can have 2 providers or 2 people at least to move it, that way there you don't cause damage to anything. Tip the stretcher over, hit cars, hit doors, hit walls, stuff like that. It's going to be a lot better. But anytime we're moving the patient, we're going to have at least 2 providers, and they need to pay attention to what's going on. We want to make sure we know the hazards. We want to make sure we know we're communicating. We don't want to be talking something else, not looking, and all of a sudden we hit in something or we tip over and drop our patient. I missed stuff. Forwards, never sideways. Best way to move our patient, probably to help them from getting nauseous as well, is we either want to go head first or feet first. We'd never really go sideways. Maybe if you need to get through something in an apartment or a small room, but when we're doing a longer move, going into the ER, going out to the ambulance, we want to always go head first or feet first. This also is going to keep a lower chance of tipping over, and it's just a little more natural movement for providers. We're not trying to cross step to move sideways. We can go feet first, just kind of 1 foot in front of the other kind of thing. Man, we keep skipping over everything. Even ground. Obviously, in the photo here, we're not using a stretcher for, but we want to, if we have to use a stretcher on uneven ground, we want to make sure that we're aware of the terrain that we're going over. We get those walkways that are very old, uneven, bricks sticking up, bricks sticking out, rocks, slippery, very steep. We had a driveway the other day where it was a very steep walkway down. Even with the stair chair was going to suck. So anytime we can go for even ground, it's easier. If we can have the stretcher even waiting out by the truck on pavement or on a driveway and carry the patient up to them either using a board or using a stair chair, it's going to be a lot easier. The stretcher does weigh a little more than nothing. So you have to add that on top of the patient. But if we can find the path of least resistance, the evenest ground is going to keep everyone from hopefully getting injured. So that was the cot safe. Really can't extend that a whole lot. That's a 10-minute thing online. But just things to think about. Common sense, you can get sued. Obviously this is all stuff that we're supposed to do as providers. We understand we need 2 people moving a stretcher with a patient. We understand that we need to have all of the straps secured. Yeah, do spell check on PowerPoints. We need to have all the straps secured, and we need to have our hands on the stretcher, have it at a low height. If you were to do something that you're not supposed to, obviously that does open us up for legal actions. Again, while searching for stuff, and I was talking about that lawsuit in Michigan. If something were to happen with a stretcher, so we're moving a patient and all of us and our stretcher tips over because of whatever reason. Anyone have an idea of where we're supposed to report that to? Is that something, do you think we just throw that in a PCR? Do you think we hope that the patient doesn't see it? An email to the chief? Does anyone actually know where and what we're supposed to do for that?
File a special report with Lieutenant Perry.
So definitely tell someone. Like I said, that lawsuit, it was an interesting read. There was absolutely no communication. They didn't. Those 2 providers didn't tell the staff at the facility. They didn't tell the hospital when they got there. They didn't put in their PCR. They documented absolutely nothing in their PCR. They didn't tell the company anything like that. For Massachusetts, there is actually a form online to report in a serious, a EMS serious incident is actually what it's called. So if you go to OEMS or Google Mass incident report, you can do it a handful of ways. There's an online form that providers are supposed to complete and fax into the state. This includes the name of the service, any documentation, but some of the natures include patient injury resulting from an incident. So if you had an ambulance accident and the patient gets injured, we need to document that. Medication errors, protocol violations, ambulance crashes. We need to document those and fill out this form sent to the state. Ambulance fires. But if you were to have a stretcher incident, so you drop this or you tip the stretcher over with a patient, for some reason your stretcher causes injury to a patient, this is all stuff that by OEMS is required to be documented and sent to them. Again, definitely file it with someone else internally too, but just keep that in mind. So Stryker, I know you guys don't have manual stretchers. The only 2 people in the area that I've seen that have manual stretchers is Patriot and the helicopters, at least. Our Stryker systems are very easy, and they make it as idiot-proof as possible to do. What we use in Stow right now, which is pretty much what I'm going to take a guess you guys are using, is the Power Pro XT. This is a 125-pound stretcher that has a max rating of 700 pounds. We can lower it down to 14 inches and raise it up to 41.5 inches. Our recommended loading height is 36 inches. So again, that's where those 2 stripes meet up, and our stretcher is sitting level. This may be secured using the power load system, floor mount system, or wall mount system. We're fortunate our 2 ambulances both have the Power Pro stretcher. One of them has the power load system, and the other we have a floor mount system. So that's just their official name for the stretcher. Keep in mind the weight rating, 700 pounds. That's for both the stretcher and the power load system. If we have a patient more than 700 pounds, we're probably going to need a handful more people. Our power load system, so this is the full auto load system. It's a floor mounted unit. Again, maximum weight rating of 700 pounds. I recommended loading height 22 to 36 inches. So our stretcher doesn't have to go all the way up to be loaded into this. It's all going to depend on the truck and the way the truck's angled. The true purpose of their power loading system is a 100% guarantee in missed safety hooks. Do you guys have the power load system, or you guys still, is it just the regular cot hook?
We have the power load.
Okay. So as everyone here knows, the power load system, you can't, there's no way, I take that back. Doing it properly or anywhere near the form properly, there's absolutely no way to miss the safety hook. I'm sure if you really try, you definitely can. The second purpose of the system is reducing back injuries by 50%. You can still mess up your back. And again, if you lift this wrong or if you do something wrong, you can still mess up your back while using the system. But if you use it correctly, right, we use one finger to use the buttons to raise and lower. We pull it out with one finger. We don't hold it while it's raising and lowering. If you do this correctly, you should see no back injuries while loading the patient. What Stryker does, which is really awesome, and it's the easiest thing to teach anyone, red. If you look at their stretchers, all their products are black and yellow. If you notice anything that is red, that operates a feature of that product. That goes for both the stretcher and the stair chair. There's nothing other than maybe if you buy different color straps, there's absolutely nothing that is a different color. So this helps make it nice and easy when you go do something, lowering one of the side rails, trying to release the tracks on the stair chair, raise or lower the stretcher. It's all a red button or lever or strap that's nearby, and that's what you have to use to operate. So if you ever forget, or if you're ever trying to think of what it does, look for the red. That's going to be the key thing as with anything. With the stretcher, depending on what style you have, the XPS has the stretcher rails that I can't stand one bit. The one on the right, the newer style, to lower the rails, you have to push the red lever up, push the rail in towards the patient, and then you can pull it away. That's what I really hate about it. On that, it's nice for the patient because you're not trying to use the side rail to go up on their side. Some patients, it really didn't work well with. This one here kind of helps hold them all in. The one on the left, the older style, you have the red lever. Push the red lever up. To lower the rail, you push it towards the feet, which would be to the left. And to raise the rail, you just kind of pull up and to the right, and that's how the rail raises. Moving the patient, just like the ambulance or just like the ER cots, anytime we have the patient on there, we should just have the rails up. It's just added benefit. If we're trying to move the patient across any terrain, we can use that as providers to give us an extra access point. If you have to restrain the patient, you might be able to utilize this at all. Gives the patient something to grab so they're not grabbing providers. It's something there. If something were to happen and you had these down, there's really no way to justify why they're down. They don't take up any space. The headbed and storage. The headbed raises up to 73 degrees. If I had that number right. Zoom is horrible because I can't see my notes. No, I can. Does anyone see my notes, or do they see the just the slide still?
They're both there, Eric.
Oh, okay. So the headbed collapses to reduce the profile, and the cot head raises up from 0 to 73 degrees. Now let me see how I get back to this. reset. Oh, nope. Oh man, I really screwed this one up, huh?
Maybe just try clicking in the upper left on the 2020 COT.
See, thank you. I appreciate that. This is important. We do have, like, so in Stow, I know Harvard, you guys have on Air Road at least a multifamily, or not a multifamily. I don't know if it's elderly complex, but more like a little apartment building there.
We got a couple elevators, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah, elevators. We have a couple in town where they are very tight. The headbed is awesome, where the storage area is awesome. Again, 2 red levers at the head of the cot. You can push that in and collapse it. Anything on the back, blankets, equipment, obviously are going to have to move, but we can make the stretcher a nice low profile. Like I was saying, anytime you go to load the stretcher into an ambulance, always just give that a little tug. If it's collapsed in any means, you're not going to be able to lock it into you won't find out that's not extended fully on the older style, because you're going to have to push the stretcher all the way in. Nothing works. You have to pull it all the way out. In the newer, the power load systems, you won't be able to get the stretcher onto the power loading head, whatever you want to call that device. So always just, if you're at the head of the stretcher, always just give that a little tug and make sure it's locked.
That's called the trolley.
The trolley. Thank you. It's a nice official term.
Why don't you got them here?
Our oxygen cylinders for us, both of them on both stretchers, are secured at the head of the storage area there. And then we have some little storage pockets too. The stretcher head, the headbed, again, goes from 0 to 73 degrees. Just keep that in mind when we have that patient that's collared, right? We want to keep them as low, or not as low as possible, but we don't want to raise them all the way up to 73 degrees. Using the red lever on the right, we push that in towards the yellow up top. So push towards the patient, and we can push use to have the piston help us and raise that up. Keep in mind when you have the patient on there, and if you by accidentally push that lever, the force of the patient is going to drop that down. So just kind of watch your hands when you have a patient on there. Wheel locks. All stretchers come with the wheel locks on the left. These are on the foot of the stretcher, and there you can use your toes to use them, or reach down and use your hands. By pushing down, you lock the 2 wheels, or by pushing down, you lock each wheel individually. On the right, if you have the upgraded model, which these are awesome if you're using a stretcher by yourself, moving it without a patient out of the ER, kind of something like that, are the steering wheels. So imagine the wheels that are by the head, right? Our stretchers, all 4 wheels are steering wheels. They operate individually. They rotate 360. This way here we have full maneuverability of the stretcher. If you see a stretcher with the system with a steering wheel, when you have it locked, the 2 wheels by the head of the stretcher, when they're in this position, in line with the rails, they will lock into place. This helps you steer the stretcher better. I find it easier to use if you're using the stretcher by yourself. Again, taking the stretcher out of the ER, we don't want to hit everything in every person. When there's 2 providers using the stretcher, it seems like it gets a little more confusing. Neither one of the Stow stretchers, we don't have the wheel locks on either one of the Stow stretchers. I don't know if you guys do either. When you're loading the stretcher into the ambulance with the old style with the cot hook, the wheel locks can kind of screw with that as well. So just make sure that they're in the unlocked position. Our stretchers all obviously battery operated. The power loading system charges our batteries. So we really shouldn't have to swap out batteries unless they're getting towards their end of life. By the foot of the stretcher, if you look underneath, you see your battery, and you see this red button. This red button is on the right-hand side. If you push the red button, you can then push the battery out. You can swap this out anytime. You know, it's like the hydraulic tools. If you take the battery out, the stretcher is not going to just collapse in on itself. You're absolutely fine using the stretcher still. The red lever, another nice thing Stryker has is everything obviously works in case battery failure. In case this battery were to fail or you don't have a battery in there, the battery's dead for whatever reason, by pulling this red lever, it will automatically lower the wheels. So those arms, you'll lower. It's going to be a slow lower. Or go in the older style, pull the red lever, you can have someone raise the wheels. So keep that in mind. You're never going to be stuck and not able to use the stretcher. You'll always be able to use it, get the patient off, and figure out what the issue is. What you can't see because I didn't take a picture of it. In the bottom of the corner of the picture, you can see the buttons for the arms. You get plus, minus, and then a red dot. You have 2 sets of these. Shorter people, I prefer using the lower set. I take that bar, put it on my belt buckle to help support it if we're using the old style, and then use the lower set buttons. For anyone new, it's kind of just figuring out your position and comfort and what's going to be the easiest one, especially on the old style where you still have to lift the stretcher up. Final 2 options, something that doesn't get used a lot. We can bend the patient's knees and we can raise them up to raise the feet up. This bends the knees at 30 degrees and raises them up. I think it's to 30 degrees as well. I have that in a note, but instead of dealing with that again. Simply by taking your red straps right here, there's one on either side. If you pull those straight vertically, that's how you bend the knees. At the foot of the stretcher, there's a little red lever. If you push that red lever up, you can bring the leg straight up. Great for shock patients, great for patients where they have a knee injury, where they can't lay flat. We can still kind of keep them tight to the stretcher. We may not have to stuff blankets or pillows underneath them. Your other thing, this is what I've used it most for, the really tall patients or patients without shoes, you can keep their feet out of your face by raising their feet up. Gives you a little extra room and a little more space. That's truly what I found it the best for. The power loading system. So if we've all used the power loading system, it's pretty idiot proof. Couple things to look out for, right? The older style stretchers, I'm saying the older style stretchers, the regular cot hook stretchers, every time we load the patient in, it was one of those, we secure it to the floor latch or the wall latch, whichever style you had. You just kind of give it a little tug to make sure it was secure. This one here, we're doing the same thing. You should get 3 green lights once it secures and locks, just to make sure it's not going anywhere. As you can see, and if you haven't played with it before, the ambulance, I'm guessing 13A is the same way, should still have that yellow cot latch. Again, if this system were to fail, we can still use the stretcher manually. We have still the bar on the rear for the latch. We can take it out manually without the trolley or the rest of the power loading system. So we're never going to be stuck with a patient. When we pull it out, we push the red lever. It raises up, as we know. We pull it out till we get 3 green lights. The more violently you pull it out, the more violently the patient's going to shake. So nice and easy. This point here, it's still nice and secure. Holds up to 700 pounds, right? So we should be all fine and dandy. Once we hit our 3 green lights, we can now lower the legs. Again, either using the manual red lever or using the buttons. We lower legs all the way down. And does anyone remember what we knows what happens once the legs are lowered all the way down? That's something we look for. That's when we release the button to extend the legs. Kind of like priming, right? Or when we're pumping, we listen for that tone change. You hear the tone of legs going down and the control arms going down. Once you get the point where it has the pressure off of the system, the control arms go down. That's how we can now release it. If for some reason, I know we've had this issue before, a handful. I know 7A has the same issue. If the truck doesn't dump, because it's a four-wheel drive truck, it sits a little higher off the ground, so that's why we have the dump feature. You have to engage the emergency brake, make sure the switch is off, truck should dump. If it doesn't dump, we can cheat the system. We have a couple options. The easiest option, once the wheels are down, if you lift up on the stretcher and keep pushing the button, the control arm should lower. What the trolley is looking for is it's looking for the release of the weight. If that doesn't happen, it's not going to let you release the stretcher. So you might have to cheat that system. This again could also be if you're in a driveway where the nose of the truck is downhill, and the rear of the truck's facing uphill, it might not like that as well. So that's just one way to cheat. You can release the stretcher from the trolley either way. You have your buttons right above the plus and minus, or you have these two red levers. You can pull one, you can pull both if you really want, but they operate on the same pin. That will release the stretcher. At that point there, you're gonna get your orange flashing lights so we know that the stretcher is not secured into the trolley. If, for some reason, you get no lights when you do anything, when you go to put the stretcher in, when you push the red lever to pull it out of the truck, make sure your power button's on. That left button, if you're mopping out the truck, you're not supposed to have the power on, you're supposed to shut it off. If you have no lights, check, make sure the power is on. The up and down arrows will control the control arms. So we can raise the arms, we can lower the arms. Our far right button is the hydraulic release. So again, if we have issues, we are never stuck with the patient on the stretcher. We can push that button, that far right button, and we can push those two control arms that you see here downwards. This way here we can get the stretcher off the system. So again, if it's red, it does something. It's just one of those things. If you play with it, you can kind of find out. We know the stretcher is not secured by our orange lights. We'll get two orange lights. If the trolley system is inside the ambulance or not fully extended out past a certain point, you're not going to get any lights. So right now, it's winter months. We take the stretcher out. We're going to put the trolley back in. We grab the red levers. I don't think you can see them. I don't have a picture of them. At the end of these two arms, there's red, right? Anything red does something. We can grab those two red. We can grab one of the two red arms, lift that up, and push this back into the ambulance so we can close the door. At that point there, you won't see the orange lights. Or if your stretcher isn't high enough, you go to load it onto the trolley and you push the trolley back inward some, you're going to lose those lights. So if you're not getting orange lights, orange flashing lights, just kind of give the trolley a pull, make sure it's fully out and locked. Finally, our stair chair. Stair chairs were only rated for 700 pounds. Stair chairs were only rated for 500 pounds. We have two little different versions in Stow. One of the versions we have the extended step in the strap. The other version we don't have the extended step, but we have the oxygen cylinder holder on it as well. Like we said, anything that's red does something. By the feet, we have two collapsible arms. Great to kind of give yourself some room for the patient, room away from the patient. Push the red button, you can pull the arm out. Push the red button, you can push the arm in. Anytime you're going to move the patient off a chair, or try and keep the arm in if possible. That way that just reduces that tripping hazard. We have a strap for the ankles. And again, we have two straps for the body of the patient. These are designed as a X fashion, and the buckles will be down low. Make it DD proof, green to green, black to black. The rear of our stair chair, we have several functions. We have our track system. Track system's really only good for going downstairs. I think I've tried it going upstairs once just to see. We talked about it. It doesn't work. Usually the way the patient to help keep the tracks on, and goes over several treads by laying them back. Really only good for downstairs. Anytime you deploy the tracks, if you see on there's a red bar, and that's how you deploy it. Make sure they're locked. If you don't get them to lock, they may seem like it. Then when you go to put weight onto the tracks, now all of a sudden they collapse and your patient freaks out. This red wire here, if you can see, kind of halfway up, by pulling that red wire, we can extend the upper arm. There are 2 or 3 locking spots, and sometimes you'll even see a head strap to secure the head, kind of, so now there's a place for the head to hit. Using the tracks, you should use this control, or this extended arm. This helps keep the provider at the head from having to bend over. By extending it out, you again have some more room, just like the person on the foot. We have 2 arms that fold down. There's, again, red latches by either one of those. We have 2 wheel brakes. You should conventional foot brakes. Push down with your toes to lock, push up with your toes to unlock. Finally, the red lever that isn't around anything else for the most part is what you use to collapse the seat back into the body of the stair chair. Again, they try and make everything as idiot-proof as possible, like everything else we have in the world. By having the red, you know it does something. For anyone that doesn't use the stair chair quite often, if you're talking to your patient, the excess strap, I find it very easy if you give that to the patient and tell them, hold on to this and you won't fall. If you let go of this, we're going to drop you. Something along those lines, depending on how your patient is. Giving them something to hold kind of helps with the ease of, this is a weird feeling. If you reach out though, it's not going to end well. So those straps, smaller patient, they're going to be everywhere anyway. You might as well give them something to do, and that way that they can keep their focus on that. Anytime we're using a stair chair, if we have as much as possible, we should have someone backing us up. I know our cops are typically pretty good at this when we're short on crew. Doesn't have to be forcefully moving the person left and right. Sometimes the easiest thing, you're going to know your crew, but the easiest thing is if you grab a belt loop, you can help guide the person left and right. Calling out hazards, calling out steps, telling them, move to your left, move to your right. You got a wall, you got steps coming up, short step, uneven. We can kind of give a heads up, especially for the person at the foot that can't see anything, or can't see what they're getting to. At least it just helps so we prevent those injuries. And those are all my slides. Does anyone have any questions? I'm guessing everyone has a fairly good use or fairly good knowledge and has used the stair chair and the stretcher before. Like I said, Stryker makes it pretty idiot-proof, and this is probably one of the easiest things to teach to someone that's new EMT. Find something red, that's what it does. I know for the stretcher, for Stow people, sometimes you can see our straps we color-coded more or less to help the cops. You can kind of see that one there, the button buckle's yellow. The button's yellow, and then we have the strap, the head where the strap locks in is yellow as well. When we swapped over from that H-style chest strap to the crossing one, we had to make it a little more idiot-proof for the cops because they tend to try and help us out a lot. So you'll see that with the stretchers, both stretchers and Stow. So you just color, nice and easy. Other than that, does anyone have any questions? Hearing none. The last thing we need to do, very short poll. Like I said, this is more or less just a quick review, or not quick review, but a review, an annual review that we're supposed to do. Something we use quite often. sometimes some people forget about some of the features and some of the safety as far as it. So just a quick 6-question poll to review some of the stuff we went over. Once you answer the poll, feel free to stick on, or you can take off if you want. I will have a list sent to Lieutenant Perry for the Harvard people of everyone that attended. Once you do your practical thing, then he'll give you the OUMS number. Like I said, we did get an hour and a half of credit for this. But if you have any questions really taking a poll, just let me know. And if you take off afterwards, thanks for joining. Nice, quick, and easy topic.
Thank you, Lieutenant, for inviting us Harvard folks along. Appreciate the inclusion in this.
No problem, anytime.
Thanks, LT.
No problem. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, I have a question.
I might have an answer.
It says that your cot can work annually if the battery dies. Is that different than manually?
Yes, if the battery dies, you can only use it once.
Once a year.
Once a year.
Once a year, that's it?
They have to come out and service it. Costs a lot of money. So it's just an annual use after the battery dies.
I gotcha. See, us Bolton folks don't have that power load. I got real confused.
You really should. I mean, the back of the ambulance doesn't dump.
Adios.
It was very nice of her to call you out in front of everybody.
I know. I definitely do appreciate that.
What a great student.
You know, not like there's this thing called text messages.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to do some work too.
I tend to ridicule you on Snapchat during police classes.
I know. I was busy. I didn't get to send you anything. I was putting up Christmas lights today.
I was eating dinner.
I can see that.
So you'll send me the rooster?
I'll send you the rooster. I'll send you the what's it called?
The recording?
The what?
The recording?
I'll send you the rooster, the recording, the OEMS number as well.
Well,
and
that'd
if
be
you
on the roster, wouldn't it?
I guess that's true. No, you guys had like a weird fancy roster last time. I was just doing certificates at first.
No, I just did an OEMS roster. That's what Critical Knowledge gave me.
Yeah. I got very little guidance as to what we need, so I've just been doing the certificates.
Okay. If the recording doesn't, I don't know if you can upload it to anything. I can come pick it up on a flash drive or something.
I should be able to upload. I should be able to get to you some way or another. If not, I'm sure Friday I'm going to need a break from doing the quote-unquote work, and I can get it out to you.
I'm off Friday.
I am too. I'm on Thursday and Friday.
I took the day off.
Oh, you said you're on Friday. When do you actually show up to work?
When do I?
Yeah.
Today, yesterday, half day tomorrow.
You're not helping your point at all.
No, I know. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Oh, we can bring this several different ways. I'm sure
Right.
multiple other people.
Thank you, Eric Benoit. I appreciate your help.
I appreciate you jumping in.
Anytime. I will, if I don't talk to you, I will see you Monday for the phone planning meeting.
Yes, that was Monday. I was trying to figure out what day that is. Yeah,
30th.
see you Monday.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Rachel, you got to work.
All right, good night, son.
Good night.
What would be a good time to bring that wreath to Bolton Fire?
Oh. Well, you have any? I'll swing by tomorrow and grab it.
All right,
I meant to keep grabbing that today.
okay.
Yeah, I'll make a trip by there tomorrow. Or if you even want to just leave, if you want to leave at the station, I can grab it Thursday.
You're there Thursday.
Yeah. So if you leave it there tomorrow, I can pick up Thursday if I don't swing in tomorrow.
And you're working Friday.
Yeah, I know. For now.
What do you mean for now?
I don't know.
You gonna throw me under the bus?
No, I'll come in Friday. I'll save the comp day.
Okay. All right. Good night. I'll talk to you in a bit.
Sounds good. See you.